Hello everyone, welcome to Nursing in USA channel. In the last video, I spoke about tips for studies in pre-nursing program, and I told you that in the next video we're going to be talking about requirements for immigrants who want to do nursing as their first degree in the United States. But after some reflection, I realized that there are still a lot of information that I left in the last video that I would like to come up in the next video, which is tips for studies in pre-nursing program part 2. That is part 2 of the one I did already. So in this video, we're going to be looking at some of additional tips that I left in the last video. So there are 6 tips that you can think of when you are doing your nursing prerequisites. Number one is you have to be familiar with your syllabus. Number two, you gotta master the grading rubrics. Number three, you're gonna master the grading percentage for class activities. Number four, you have to ensure to maintain a 90% in your grading and above throughout the weeks from week 1 to the last week. Number 5, you have to email your professor when you see that, or maybe you are coming, your grades are not really good. You gotta have to reach out. You must reach out. Number 6 point is that always check your grades and make sure that your grades were correctly awarded after the grading by the professor. So now we're going to have to go through all these tips one by one so that you know in details how you can navigate during your pre-nursing program. So number 1 point that I mentioned earlier is to be familiar with your syllabus. So every class has a syllabus, so it is your duty as a student to do your studies. Some schools will make it mandatory that you study your syllabus and take a quiz on it before the class will open for you in order to participate in the class. So you gotta have to understand when you are studying your syllabus the due dates for homeworks, for quizzes, exams and labs. So if you don't know the due dates, there is no how you're gonna perform well in the class. So study your syllabus and master the due dates for all your class activities. In the syllabus too, you will find out the withdrawal policies. So there are different schools have their own withdrawal policies. Some schools will want you to be able to withdraw in a class in the first week of the class. So if you miss the first week, you cannot withdraw. You can, but if you withdraw, it's going to be on you. It's going to be on your record. So if you want to withdraw from the class without any penalty, you're going to withdraw during the first week or the last week of the semester. So anything in between that, you're going to have to you will pay for it. How do you pay for it? You're going to see it in your transcript, and it's not good to see withdrawal in your transcript. So the third point that you can know or you will gain from studying your syllabus is the syllabus will help you to know your communication channel. How do you approach issues when you have a problem in the class? First off, when you have a problem, let's say you have a problem with grading, the first step you're going to take is to email your professor. Then if your professor does not respond or does not reply or does not clarify your need on your grade, the next thing is you have to go a step above your professor. So you have to follow the chain of communication when you have any problem in your class. So the next tip that you have to have in your mind during your nursing prerequisite studies is to master the grading rubrics. On the slide, you will see what the grading rubrics is like. This slide, this particular rubrics, I cut it off because if you look at it, you won't see from 0 and 1. It started from 2 points, the minimal, the 3 points, the well done, and the excellent is 4 points. So how does this work? As a student, before you do any assignment, before you do any homework, before you take your exams, before you do your research work, go to your rubrics. Look out for what the professor wants you to do in that particular class activity. If you look at this rubrics right now, you want to look at the excellent column. You don't want to look at the 3 point or 2 point. You want the full point. So as a student, go and read your rubrics before you do any homework or any class activity, so that, and you are looking at the excellent column. That way you will know what the professor wants you to do in order to gain the full point. So if you look at the column number 4, you will see excellent, excellent, excellent. Then the professor in this scenario is saying partners work together to complete the task as instructed. Partners interact well with each other without arguing. On the participation row, you will see students work hard to complete all tasks in the time given. So you're gonna look at all you can see on the excellence column. You want the highest grade in every class activity you are doing. So then apply what is required on that rubrics in order to have the best grade in that particular class activity. So next is the next tip is you have to master the grading percentage for each class activity. So if you come into any class, you will find out that there are different class activities you can do, and all of them are not awarded the same grade. First off, let's say for example, the exams. So some activities weigh more than others. The exam usually weigh more than other activities. Most time you will see the exam and the final research work having the same grade. So when you are taking the exams, you don't want to mess around. Why? Because the weight of the exam in any class is always heavier than, let's say, class participation, or let's say homeworks, let's say the quizzes. Then when you are doing your final research, you also notice when you look at the rubrics, you will see that the final research work always has a very heavy grading point. So you don't want to mess around with it. So if you want to really come out good in the class, I'm not saying that you don't have to pay particular attention to the ones that have lower weight or have a lesser weight than each other. No, you're gonna have to participate 100% in all of the class activities, because all these are cumulative. They accumulate. When you participate well in the class, when you do well in your quizzes, when you do well in your exams, all of them add up to give you that A you want in the class. So, but what I'm saying is that do not mess with those who have heavy grading points, those who weigh higher than the other, because if you lose any point on that, it's going to affect your cumulative grade. So pay particular attention to those who have heavy weight and also those who have less weight, so that all of them will add up to give you an A in the end. The next tip is you're going to have to maintain, when you start a class, try to maintain a 90% and above to the last week. How do you do this? The first week in the class, you want to pay attention to details. And the importance of having 90% all through your weeks is that it's going to earn you a relaxed final exam. Why? If you do well from week 1 to the last week, you don't have much to stress about when you are on your final week. Second thing, if you endeavor to have 90%, is that if you do not have a 90% and above, it's gonna is gonna really weigh much on you during the last week, because you must panic. You're gonna be panicking during your last week if you don't have a 90% and above from week 1 to the last week. So it is important to try to maintain a 90% grade and above from week 1 to the last week. That way you can have a relaxed final exam. So on this slide, well, we can see email your professor. So why do you email your professor? So look at this. If you have done your best right from week 1 to the last week, I wouldn't say the last week, I would say if you have done well from week 1 to second to the last week, you're gonna have to do some will I say speculations? Yeah, I would say speculation. You look at your grade. You have 80% of your cumulative. The cumulative grade is 80%, and you weigh it. When you weigh it, you have your final exam and maybe a couple of class activities, let's say class discussion and maybe final research. And you look at, oh, the final research weighs a lot, the final exam weighs a lot. If you miss any points, you're gonna fall off from 80 to like 7. You'll be in the 70s. That means you're gonna end up with C. But you don't want to end up with C in any class. So what you're gonna do from your speculation is use all your resources in order to either, it's gonna be hard to jump into A, but if you work hard, let's say if you are on around 89, there's a possibility for you to get back on A. It happened to me. I will tell you that. I will tell you the story later. So what you want to do is you want to email your professor, tell your professor, oh, I've really worked hard this semester, but on this second to the last week, I don't feel comfortable with my grade. I really appreciate your teaching method. Try to, we are all human beings, professors are human beings. Try to appease to their mind. Appreciate what they are doing in the class. When you appreciate them, then let them know your problem. That, oh, Professor Mark or whoever, oh, I appreciate your teaching method. You really helped me personally a lot, but I am not comfortable with my grade. I am wondering if it is possible that you give me an extra work to do in order to gain an extra grade or bonus grade. Guys, this works. It's gonna work. It works a lot. It has worked for me more than 2 times. It has worked for me more than 2 times. So what you want to do is when you construct this this email, you send it to your professor. So worst case scenario, he or she will say no, but I have never gotten a no from my professor when I emailed them in this type of situation. So when you have done all you need to do, and this is the situation you find yourself in, email your professor, appreciate his or her work, then tell him your need and ask for a bonus grade. It's gonna be helpful. Look at what happened to me in my last prerequisite classes. In a computer class, we were doing programming. It wasn't funny. The programming class wasn't funny, but I found I was in the I was around 94, but my first exam, I messed up in my first exam. It dragged me back to 87, 88. It should be 88. Yeah, it dragged me back to 88. I looked at my I looked at my final grade at that second to the last. I said, no, if I leave this, if I am not careful and mess up on this second to the last week, and then I still have my final week coming, I may find myself in around the C level. And I have never had a C in my class, and I don't want to have a C in my class, guys. So what happened was that I had to sit down, construct an email. I appreciate my professor. She is a wonderful teacher, and when I told her that she was doing a good job, I meant it, because she really is a good professor. So I appreciate her effort and told her my situation. So she came back to me. She wrote back to me, okay, Norbert, I appreciate you emailing me and being outspoken about your grades. That tells how important you see your grade. Then she told me, okay, what I can do for you is um, on the final week, if when I'm grading your schoolwork, the final grading, if I find that you're on 89, I will round up your grade and give you an A. I was like, thank you very much. So what I did on that second to the last week was that whenever I write any program, before I turn it in, I send it to her in her email. She will go through it and say, okay, do this, do that. And in the end, guys, I came out, I didn't get 89. I scored more than 90 in that class without her rounding off my grade. So this thing works, guys. Make sure when you find yourself in a situation, you gotta have to speak up. It is when you are drowning in an ocean, if you don't raise up your hand, nobody can help you. So if you find yourself in this situation in your second to last week, do some math, speculate, and make sure you ask for help by requesting or asking for extra work to do for a bonus grade. So the another one is always, another tip on the line is always check your grades and make sure they are correct. Guys, you don't want to mess around with your grades. I am so serious with my grades. In my classes, I pay attention to my grades. And guys, if a professor finds out that you are serious with your grades, he or she will pay attention whenever he or she is grading your work. So make the professor know that you take your grades seriously. That's a sign of a good student. So in your pre-nursing classes, in your pre-nursing program, check your grades using the rubrics. So if you check your grade and you missed any point, what you want to do is you want to go to the rubrics and check while the professor didn't give you a full point. If you check the rubrics I showed you earlier, you will see how the grading goes. The professors use the rubrics to mark your schoolwork, and that is why I said earlier, you gotta master your rubrics. Make sure you consult your rubric before you do any class activity. So check out your grading using the rubrics. That way you know where you made mistake, and if you notice where you made mistake, you don't want to make the mistake again. So the next thing is the importance of this is that professors would not like to make mistakes when you come back to them telling them the mistakes they made on your grade. This has happened to me in several occasions. In some occasions I'll miss 1 or 2 points when I was saying, no, I did this, I'm sure that I'm supposed to get 100% in this class or in this particular class activity. So when I check on 2 or 3 occasions, professors have made mistake on my grades. I had to email them. When I emailed them, you know what I will get in return? They will say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe that was an oversight. I will correct your grades." So pay attention. Professors are human beings. They can make mistake. So when you take it upon yourself to double check on your grades, that's gonna be helpful to you. So you don't wanna have a laissez-faire attitude towards your grades, while maybe in the actual sense you merited 100% and you got 90 and you say, oh, I can let it go. Don't let it go. Find out why you had less than 100%. Most times the professors will make mistakes, not intentionally. They are human beings. It is human to err. Okay, in this video I spoke about the importance of familiarizing with your syllabus. I also spoke about how to the importance of mastering your class grading rubrics. I made mention of you knowing the weight of each activity in your class. I also tried to make you understand the importance of always maintaining a grade of A from the beginning of the semester to the last week. I also encourage you to email your professor. In this video, I also encourage you to email your professor if you find out your grades are on a decisive realm or on a decisive situation. What I mean by decisive is either you're failing or you're passing. So when you see your grade on the decisive realm, do not hesitate to email your professor. Ask for bonus grade, ask for extra homework, ask for bonus grade from your professor. You wouldn't be surprised getting a positive response. Then I also encourage you to always check your grades. Grades are not always what they look like. Most times when you have less than 100%, there is a possibility that the professor made a mistake on your homework or exams or research work. Ask the professor if you find any mistake, bring it to his or her awareness. They are always willing to do some extra work or maybe adjust. They are always willing to adjust our grades or your grades if you ask for it. It is only the person who asks that will receive. If you do not ask, you are not going to receive anything. So if you see your grade low, check out why it is low. If you find a mistake, if it is yours, correct it. If it's not yours, if it's from the professor, email her or him so that he or she will adjust your grades. Guys, I'm so happy you took your time to listen to this video. I hope you find this video very useful. My next video will be on the tips for immigrants who want to do nursing as their first degree in the United States. Guys, as usual, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel, because your subscription will help me, will encourage me to be more productive and be more to be able to come up with videos that will help you in your nursing career as a starter, as a freshman. Your subscription will help me to be encouraged to do this particular work better. So if you have any comments, leave your comments. I promise I will get back to you as soon as possible. Stay focused. Do not be discouraged. You can do it. And one thing I want to add is that always look out for my videos on Saturdays. I will do my possible best to come up with videos, new videos every Saturday. So always be on the lookout to get my new videos every Saturday. If you have a pop-up of my video, please try to view it. You will never know what you can learn. Thank you and remain blessed.